Mangwanani Malelepo Fukenjani Kleklas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, your trusted source for daily continental updates. On today's show, Namibia hosts Indian Prime Minister Modi in a pivotal diplomatic meeting. We examine Kenya's intensifying protests following President Ruto's call for police to shoot them in the leg. In Tunisia, opposition icon faces a lengthy prison sentence while the UAE-Nigeria visa tensions escalate. Nigeria also adjusts its university entry policy. In our economic segment, we unpack Lesotho's national disaster declaration amid U.S. trade fallout, and our South Africa report with Arrie Hougaard rounds up key headlines. Watch us on DSTV 285, GOTV 285, oneup2.com, and NTV Africa on YouTube. Keeping in mind, on oneup2.com, there's the echo icon, which will give you access to all of our episodes in your time, on your terms. And of course, we'll give you an update on the medal table with regards to the Region 5 Youth Games still underway in Namibia. My name is Ashwin Bedi. This is Africa Good Morning. We are going to go straight into our first update because it is an important one. A landmark state visit to Namibia on July 9, India Prime Minister Narendra Modi was officially welcomed by Namibian President Her Excellency Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, marking 35 years of diplomatic relations between the two nations. President Nandi-Ndaitwah described the visit as a reaffirmation of enduring partnership rooted in shared struggles for independence and mutual values of democracy, development, and solidarity. The leaders oversaw the signing of several bilateral agreements aimed at deepening cooperation in key sectors, including health, agriculture, cybersecurity, energy, and digital transformation. Among the major outcomes were Namibia's accession to India's Coalition for Disaster-Resilient Infrastructure and the Global Biofuels Alliance, both of which align with Namibia's climate resilience and clean energy goals. Additional memoranda covered cooperation in cybersecurity, digital innovation, and higher education, including a partnership between Maharana Pratap University of Agriculture and Technology and the Namibian University of Science and Technology. The visit also saw agreements to strengthen the health sector and establish an entrepreneurship development center to support micro, small, and medium enterprises. Implementation will be guided by the Namibia-India Joint Commission of Cooperation, reinforcing a strategic and future-focused alliance. We'll be getting into the rest of our top stories shortly. Let's get into our top stories. Kenya's President William Ruto has sparked fresh outrage after publicly instructing police to shoot looters and violent protesters in the leg to incapacitate them rather than kill. His comments came amid mounting criticism from the UN and human rights groups over police brutality during anti-government protests, where the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights reports at least 31 people were killed, over 100 injured, and 532 arrested. Ruto defended police actions, warning that attacks on officers amounted to war, and insisted any attempt to unseat him outside the ballot was unconstitutional. The unrest was sparked by economic grievances and the recent death of blogger Albert Ojwang in custody, with youth-led demonstrations erupting across 17 counties. Protesters chanted "Ruto must go" and demanded an end to alleged state violence. Among the casualties was a 12-year-old child killed by a stray bullet. The opposition accuses Ruto of unleashing armed gangs and has called for a nationwide boycott. As calls for accountability intensify, Kenya's Chief Justice Martha Koome warned that escalating violence threatens the country's democracy. A Tunisian court has sentenced opposition leader Rached Ghannouchi, head of the Ennahda party, to 14 years in prison in a sweeping national security case. Ghannouchi, once Speaker of Parliament and a leading post-Arab Spring political figure, was convicted alongside other Ennahda members accused of conspiracy, incitement and alleged terrorism-related activities. Several senior party figures received 12-year terms, while others, including Ghannouchi's son and a former foreign minister, were tried in absentia with warrants issued for their arrest. Ghannouchi's defense team slammed the case as politically driven and based on unreliable anonymous testimony, later retracted. They allege a pattern of judicial harassment under President Kais Saied's administration, which has faced growing accusations of authoritarianism since Saied dissolved parliament and consolidated power. Ghannouchi, 86, who has already served decades behind bars, now faces multiple ongoing prosecutions. Rights groups and international observers have questioned the fairness of the trials, while his supporters call for the immediate release of detained opposition members and denounce what they see as a systematic attempt to silence dissent in Tunisia's fragile democracy. Following the U.S. State Department's new visa restrictions on Nigerians, the United Arab Emirates has escalated immigration limitations by halting all Nigerian transit visa applications. The abrupt policy shift also introduces tough eligibility conditions for Nigerian tourist visa applicants. Travelers aged 18 to 45 unaccompanied by family are now disqualified from the tourist visa category, while older applicants must show a 6-month bank statement with a minimum $10,000 monthly balance. The move has severely restricted mobility options for Nigerians, especially business and leisure travelers relying on Dubai as a transit hub. The development comes just a year after both nations lifted a 2-year visa ban triggered by COVID-19 related concerns. Analysts believe the synchronized timing of the US and UAE actions reflects a broader frustration with Nigeria's passport and border controls. Nigerian opposition figures have blamed the Tinubu administration's diplomatic missteps for the backlash, while travelers and business communities face immediate disruptions. Both Washington and Abu Dhabi cite concerns over immigration integrity, with the UAE's latest notice already in effect reshaping travel prospects for millions of Nigerians. Staying with Nigeria, Nigeria's federal government has officially set the minimum age for admission into tertiary institutions at 16, reversing the previous 18-year limit introduced by former Education Minister Tahir Mamman. Education Minister Tunji Alausa announced the change during the 2025 Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board policy meeting, emphasizing the new age aligns better with cognitive development and academic readiness. The decision was welcomed by many students and parents, though some institutions expressed concern over its implementation. Now, Alausa also issued a stern warning to universities and colleges mandating full compliance and reaffirming that all admissions must be processed through the Central Admissions Processing System. Any admission conducted outside caps will be deemed illegal. The new directive comes amid wider education reforms, including the setting of university cutoff marks and efforts to crack down on examination malpractice. Nigeria's academic unions, however, remain locked in disputes over delayed salaries and systemic issues, with strike threats still looming. As the policy takes effect, debates continue about the long-term implications for students' maturity, academic performance, and university readiness in a competitive education system. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. Shortly, we'll be talking to Arrie Hougaard as he delivers the South Africa report. But prior to that, it's the weather. All right, it's time for us to chat with Arrie Hougaard as he delivers the South Africa report. Good morning, Arrie. How are you?
Yes, very good morning, Ashwin. Yes, nice to talk to you this morning.
It's always good to have you on the show, Arrie. Now, in your current affairs, you'll be covering South Africa urging US to drop the looming tariff threat, and also 100 million rand is lost daily to illegal tobacco, and the crackdown is underway.
Yes, Ashwin, we are still talking about the trade with the USA, and the reason for that is because there's such a big component of the economy. I think we underestimated how big it actually is. That's President Ramaphosa when he visited the White House. And I think one headline I can maybe mention is respected newspaper, Business Day newspaper, that had a headline yesterday that said, diplomatic diplomatic crunch time for Team South Africa. And what the newspaper meant was there's still ongoing negotiations to try and sway away the USA from that 30% blanket import or the tariff that was hit on South Africa. South Africa, not the only country in the world. There were 20 countries that received similar letters, and it is including Japan and South Korea, to mention a few. And also, there was yesterday a statement made by the President Trump that all BRICS countries will also have 5% added in tariffs. So it seems like that's a bit of a fight against BRICS as well, and South Africa is obviously a big component of BRICS. So what needs to happen next is there's two important ministers in this position now. It is Minister of Trade and Industry, Mr. Parks Tau. He will be one minister that will have to negotiate, and also agriculture, Mr. John Steenhuisen. Agriculture is important because it's a massive number. The exports from South Africa in 2024, agricultural exports in dollars is 300 or 13.7 billion US dollars. So it's a massive amount of money that goes over to the USA or came in from the USA in exports. So it's a big component of the GDP for the country. And there's different agricultural products in this that is under pressure. It is citrus origins, as we know them, also wine, table grapes and nuts, just to mention a few. But the citrus is one component. Citrus Dal is the one area in the Western Cape. As you drive from Namibia down to Cape and you drive through Citrus Dal, and that whole area is under pressure actually now if the tariffs kick in. There's exports of 7 million cartons to the USA annually from South Africa. So it will be catastrophic if those tariffs come up for the citrus side of the economy. So hopefully the ministers can step up and do negotiations. Just briefly also, you mentioned the cigarettes. Yes, the illegal tobacco trade, it flourished in the COVID-19 time. And it is daily. The sales value of illegal trade in cigarettes is 100 million South African rand a day. It adds up to 28 billion South African rand over the year. So that money is done, and it's not going through SARS. It's not going through the revenue system. So you can just imagine how much revenue in the tax that's meant to come in from that. So it's a British American tobacco company. They made a statement. They said it's important that there will be security, that customs officials should be at the factories to protect that. And they also want to set a specific number on how much a packet of 20 cigarettes must cost. They said it must be 36 rand. Gold Leaf, that company sells it for less than 26 rand, even in the 10s or the 15s. So that's all happening at the moment. So hopefully the economy can be stable and the tariffs can be renegotiated with the USA.
All right, Arrie, let's get straight into the sports news. Banyana are doing their best to defend their WAFCON title as the Boks face Italy again.
Yes, Ashwin, it's Banyana making South Africa proud last year, or the previous tournament, the African Cup of Nations, defending champions. It's in Morocco. They had a good start. They beat Ghana. It was a very hot day, almost 40 degrees, but they came through that one. The other two teams in their group is Tanzania. They play them on Friday. They play them tomorrow. And then Mali, they play on Monday. And hopefully South Africa will do well in those two games to go to the quarterfinals. That will be next week, Friday, the 18th of July. So there's Ray Ellis again, the coach, and positive that South Africa can do well in the tournament. And they at least had a good winning start. But important game against Tanzania coming up on Friday. Then in Gqeberha, it is the Springboks that play against Italy. Unfortunately, Sia Polisi, the inspirational captain that comes exactly from that area, still has an injury niggle, so he couldn't play in that test. That is a pity. But good news for Willie Leroux. So he plays his 100th test. He will make that achievement from fullback running onto the field. There's Willie Leroux. So he will be earning his 100th cap. That's quite an achievement to do that. And also a nice story. There's two brothers that will play together again, or for the first time, actually, in the Springbok colours. It will be Kobus Wiese that will make his debut off the bench. And his brother is Jasper Wiese. That's the 8th man. So hopefully Jasper Wiese will still be on the field when Kobus Wiese makes his debut off the substitute bench, so that both of them can be in the field for the same time. But that's a nice story. So two brothers playing together for the Springboks this coming Saturday in Gqeberha.
All right, Arrie, as we round your South Africa report off, do tell us what tourists can enjoy in Gqeberha.
Yes, Ashwin, you say it a lot better than I do. Gqeberha, I must practice that. Yes, while we with rugby in Gqeberha, I thought let's look what's happening in Gqeberha. Quite a few things I can mention. I'll mention two. The one that caught my eye, there's a beach behind me as I talk, but there's Heavenly Stables, they call them in Gqeberha. They take you on a horseback ride. How nice is that on the coastline? They will take you to the Sardinia Bay Nature Reserve, and you can do horse riding there. We're not going to do horse riding on that big fellow. That is the elephants, and that is elephants that is at the Addo National Park. There's the horse riding, and the horse riding is a big component of the economy there, and it's something that is really nice to do. So it's just 550 Rand for 2.5 hours, so tourists can do that. But then also it is Addo Elephant Park. That is the big component of tourists can offer there. It was formed in 1931. It's one of 20 national parks in South Africa. And the nice story of the Addo National Park is that there was only 11 elephants in 1931. The area was closed off to save the elephants. There was 11. Now there's 700. So it's a nice story. Not only elephants, the big five you can see there as well. There's lions, leopards, obviously buffalo, the elephants I've mentioned, and rhino. But you can do the big seven. The only place in the world you can do the big seven, because the Addo National Park also borders the coastline at Gqeberha, and you can go out and see great white sharks and also whales. So that makes it the top 7 or the big 7. So that's quite significant for Gqeberha. So that is well worth visiting. When you watch the rugby, the next day on the Sunday, go and do the Addo National Park and the horse ride, horseback riding on the beach. So that's entertainment news from South Africa.
All right, sounds fun and exciting indeed. Thank you very much, Arrie, for bringing us the South Africa report with both the entertaining aspects and, of course, the serious current affairs.
Thank you, Ashwin. Yes, nice talking. Blessed day for everyone. Bye-bye.
All right, let's have a look at the economic indicators before we talk about Lesotho declaring national disaster amid U.S. tariff fallout and job crisis. Lesotho has declared a state of national disaster in response to soaring youth unemployment and devastating economic fallout caused by U.S. trade tariffs. The textile-dependent kingdom, once a major beneficiary of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, now faces severe export setbacks after the Trump administration imposed a 10% tariff with an additional 50% tariff paused but not rescinded. Deputy Prime Minister Ntomeng Majara confirmed the emergency declaration will remain in effect until June 2027. The job crisis has worsened dramatically, with official data showing unemployment near 30% and youth unemployment nearing 50%. Lesotho's trade minister revealed U.S. buyers are suspending orders due to uncertainty over the future of AGOA, risking up to 40,000 job losses. The collapse of trade ties has compounded damage from the termination of USAID programs and cuts to HIV relief funds under PEPFAR. As U.S. investment evaporates, Lesotho's economy, heavily reliant on textile exports, faces an existential threat. The government is now invoking its Disaster Management Act to mobilize resources and implement emergency strategies to stabilize its crumbling labor market. That's been our economic news story. We're going to round up today's broadcast by having a look at the medal table as of yesterday from the Region 5 Youth Games currently being held in Namibia. So South Africa is leading on the gold with 30 gold, 26 silver, 15 bronze. Namibia just behind, well, not just behind in bronze, a little further behind in silver, and certainly trying to get it going on the gold side. Botswana, 10 gold, 7 silver, 11 bronze. Zimbabwe, 7 gold, 11 silver, and 17 bronze. So Zimbabwe having the most bronze, South Africa having the most gold and silver. After Zimbabwe, it's Angola, followed by Mozambique, Zambia, Lesotho, Malawi, and Eswatini has got quite a bit of work to do. That has been Africa Good Morning. Thank you for joining us on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, oneup2.com, and Network Media Hub and NTV Africa on YouTube. Keep in mind, on oneup2.com, if you click the echo icon, you have access to all our episodes and all shows from NTV in your time, on your terms. From me, Ashwimberi, and the Africa Good Morning team, Rached Ghannouchi.